Hello, welcome back to the Self Love series. I hope you've had time to watch the last two episodes of this series. And just to recap, the first episode was about behind every successful person is themselves. And we talked, we discussed, I gave scenarios, and they are just about showing you how central you are to your success or to the person, the kind of a person you wish to be. Then in the second episode, we talk about knowing yourself, and we agreed that 80 takes work. So before you watch that episode, I hope you get time to go through the first and the second episode so that you continue moving with this journey and the path of the series. But remember, it's not really about the order of the videos, it's about feeling this discussion and trying to connect as deeply as possible as you can, because it's a journey for me too. Self-love is a journey, I think, for everyone, and it has been a journey for me for quite a long time. By the time I got to writing a book about it, it was something that kept bothering me, something that I felt I needed to work on, and something that I'm still working on. And in that episode, we are going to talk specifically about loving yourself. Some time back, I shared a few tips on self love. You can also revisit that video. But among it were various ways in which you can try to be, good to yourself, to love yourself, and to demonstrate that and to grow through it. And one thing is for sure, the more I learn to love myself, the more I realize it is by loving myself as much as I can that I can be able to love others. It is by showing up for myself. It is by being as complete as I can that I can be able to show up for the people close to me and also for the world. So it is very, very, very important that we all take the self-love journey. Walk with me on this one. Everyone loves to be loved. Yeah, it's a good feeling to be loved. But no matter how much we are loved, I think you only get to feel fulfilled when you love. And that's why I usually say I think there is more in giving than in receiving. For the scenarios I've been loved in my life, family members, loved ones, until I'm in a position I'm able to give as much love or more than they can give in terms of love, I don't feel fulfilled. Maybe I'm not just the kind who is comfortable sitting back and receiving without giving, but there is something about being the one loving. So look at yourself for a minute and try to ask yourself how you can love yourself the best, because it's a gap that we have to fill in order to be able to get to a space of really loving others. I say that you'll find me getting back to the Bible a lot. So I want to use one supreme example in the Bible, the example of love. The greatest commandment that God gave was love the Lord your God with all your strength, might, mind. And the second, like it, is love your neighbor as yourself. I want you to underline that, as yourself. It emanates from loving yourself so that you're able to love others. And even the Supreme Being knew this. So how can you give what you do not have? For a very long time, or very many of us think by default, we love ourselves. But over time, I came to realize it takes being deliberate to love ourselves. So don't look outside your space. Look within and start asking yourself the important questions. How do you feel about yourself? How do you show up? yourself? Do you take care of yourself? So, what are these things that can really show you that you love yourself? And how do you feel in those moments? There is one video I came across that I keep listening to, and I had actually to reference it in my book. And it's a TED Talk by Tracy McMillan, and this TED Talk was titled "The Person You Really Need to Marry." Yeah, the person you really need to marry. And her argument was the person you need to marry is yourself. She gave her experience of her 3 failed marriages over time. And she continued wondering what the problem was. And at some point, she figured out she was left by her parents at a young age. And when she grew up, she thought she needed a man. She needed not to be alone. So every slight feeling or conviction she had of a man, she felt this was it. And she went from first marriage, second marriage, third marriage, and they all did not work. Until she had to be very deliberate to think about it and ask herself what was going on. And it is at that moment she learned that she first needed to marry herself. And this is what she says about marrying yourself. She says you enter into a relationship with yourself and then you put a ring on it. Yeah, that's right. You put a ring on it because a ring shows commitment. And loving yourself and putting a ring on it is not something that is temporary. You cannot wake up one day and now say, I'm working out on myself. It is a serious commitment that you make to self. I want you to imagine maybe somewhere you'd love, ladies, you love when a man goes on his knees, right? And proposes to you. And I think weddings are more of a female thing than a male thing, but I want you to imagine taking yourself to the most exquisite of places, a place you love, breathtaking, and then asking you to marry you, taking that commitment. And don't take it lightly. It means you take vows. You take vows for richer, for poor, for better, for worse, in sickness, in health, to have and to hold. Vows to yourself. And what these vows help you with is you get to learn that you don't get to look at yourself in the mirror and you look very good that day and you love yourself. And then the next day you're stressed up and you don't look so well, you don't even feel like making your hair or dressing up nicely and walking out. And that day you just say, no, this is not the person I love. No, it means you love yourself the moment you feel great and the moment you feel that you don't want to look at yourself. I've had a lot of problems with this. I've had moments where I make mistakes or I fail in some things. I go against my principles. I just feel I failed and I don't even want to look at myself in the mirror. And I start feeling like, no, Manjiro, you're about all this self-love, but no. And I have to remember the vows to myself. The time I made a speech referencing Lisa Nichols where she says, you look yourself in the mirror and you just talk to yourself. You tell yourself, I love you, I forgive you, I commit to you. Every day, despite what you're feeling that particular day, because all days are not going to be the same. So in the journey of self-love, you have to learn, just like any vows people take, every day is not going to be the same. But you will need to wake up, dress up, and show up for yourself so that you're able to show up for the world. I want you to imagine being so in love with yourself that you, yes, cry yourself to sleep, but you know very well, as much as there might be someone to pick you up, you need to be the first person to pick yourself up. And as much as we are human beings, we require strength and love and support from the people around us. We require, or we feel the need to be wanted by people around us and to be accepted and to be loved. It is until you get to the level deep down of knowing, yes, this is me. Sometimes I'm imperfect. Actually, we are perfectly imperfect. Sometimes I'm not at my best, but no, I still love myself. Because what this helps you with is you take on a journey now to become the kind of a person you'd want to become. You take on a journey, you love yourself enough to tell yourself, yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I keep failing. But I love myself too much to be a waste, to see myself waste away. I love myself too much to just exist and die, and the world never gets to know that I existed. I love myself too much to live aimlessly without any kind of purpose. I love myself too much to not want to impact people or systems on earth, to not want to be remembered when I'm gone. There's this song by Beyonce, I Was Here. I love the lyrics of this song because it goes something like, I was here, I lived, I loved, I was here, I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it's more than I thought it would be. I will live and work so everyone will know I was here. You were here. You are here right now. How about we all loved ourselves enough to get to know who we really are, what we are capable of doing, and then gaining the courage to step out and do it, driven by this love. Because very many people have asked me, self-love and selfishness, don't you think they collide somehow? And this is what I say. For me, self-love is not being selfish. Self-love is loving yourself enough to want to exist in a better world. Listen to this. You love yourself enough, but you know very well you cannot exist in a vacuum. You will go to work, you will work with people, you belong to a family, you have friends, maybe you have a spouse. You exist among and around all these people. So loving yourself enough is finding the little things you can do to make your spaces better, because you are living in that space. Loving yourself is about bringing out your unique value proposition, bringing out your voice, who you really are, to form a smile, to inspire, to build structures, to bring up things that make life better for you and for people around you. So self-love is not by any chance selfishness. Self-love, if anything, the genuine, the right kind of self-love makes you want to step out and impact the world and show up for the world. There's a quote I came across, and I try to think about it every time I think about love and in connection to anyone thinking that it's selfishness. It's by Lucille Ball, and she said, love yourself and everything else will fall into place. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world. You really need to love yourself to get anything done in this world. I usually say self-love saved me because I existed among people. I existed in a family that loved me in their own ways. But still, there are things that were said and done to me that got to me so deep. Instead of loving me, accepting me, I think I really hated me. I mean, you hate yourself enough to want to stop existing in this world. That's where I was pushed. But as I've said in my book, when I think about it right now, I usually say, if that happens, I think I would have been to blame, because I would have robbed the world of my existence. And you and I are unique in our own ways. We are meant to affect the world in different ways. No one can do you better than you. So imagine I robbed the world of my existence. Imagine if you robbed the world of your existence without bringing out who you really are to the world, without stepping in that space that you're meant to step in. And it took loving myself enough. And it's a journey every day I have to try, because for richer, for poor, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, to have and to hold, even when I have no one to talk to, no one to hold me, to cry, to sleep, I have to remember, Wanjiro, you have to show up for yourself. You have to realize you're feeling weak at this moment, you're poor at this moment, you're worse, you're not healthy at this moment, but still you took a vow to yourself. In one of the episodes of this series, I'll talk about committing to you, the second last episode. And I will bring out the various aspects of why commit to you in the first place. But for now, I'm calling you to walk with me on this journey. I usually say, when I write or talk about this topic or anything else, I'm usually telling it to myself as much as I'm telling it to you or to anyone listening to me. I hope we get to walk this journey of self-love. I hope you get to love yourself enough with all your scars and imperfections, showing up with your stars and your scars, because the world can use the best version of you, and you cannot become the best version of you if you don't love yourself and commit to becoming that and showing up in that manner. So this is not, love is not a destination. You don't get to say, now, yes, I totally love myself. It's a continuous process. Every day you discover ways you can love yourself more, and in the process you realize, when you get to learn to accept who you are with all your scars and weaknesses, you are able to learn to accept others around you, because with the weaknesses you have, they too have them. As imperfect as you are, they too are imperfect. So you learn to be empathetic in the process. You learn to be able to exist better with people. Even when they hurt you, you remember that you hurt you too sometimes when you're not in your best place. And that is why I say loving oneself really helps you also love others in a better way. It is my hope that we continue in this journey of self-love, and that every day we get to feel more fulfilled when we love ourselves more, better, love others, and impact the world by showing up for ourselves and for the world. I hope to see you next time, when we will talk about let go in our next episode. And I really hope you stick with me, you share with me your experiences of self-love. And before we leave, remember to take that vow to yourself. For richer, for poor, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, to hug and to hold. Bye-bye.